I'm meteorologist Caroline Carithers with the News 5 First Alert Storm Team here with a tropical update for you here. This is Hurricane Francine that we've been tracking. Max winds at 90 miles per hour still has changed very little in intensity over the past couple of hours here. It has picked up a little bit of forward speed, so we're looking at northeast around 13 miles per hour, so it has started to make that curve towards the northeast, towards that Louisiana coastline. So here is the latest track from the National Hurricane Center, likely making landfall as either a strong Category 1 hurricane or possibly a weak Category 2 hurricane. Either way, impact's not really going to change much. Still targeting southeastern coastal Louisiana for a landfall later on this afternoon. Now, landfall has pushed back a little bit. Instead of early afternoon, it's looking like late afternoon, evening hours as far as landfall is concerned. And that means that our impacts likely won't start until later this afternoon and into the evening and into the overnight hours. As far as what we're looking at. Again, not a direct hit for the News 5 neighborhood, but we're close enough to be feeling some impacts. As far as the rest of the track goes, it'll weaken very quickly as it moves on land, dumping lots of rain across the deep south over the next several days. So looking at the News 5 predictor here, we are looking at some of those heavier rain bands likely coming later on in the afternoon. We'll see some light rain. This is 1 p.m. today, and then we'll start to see the heavier rain start to come on shore, moving into the late afternoon and evening hours closer to that landfalling time. So as this is 7 p.m. where we are looking at those heavier rain bands coming in, this will present more of a wind threat. It will present more of a heavy rain threat. It will also present more of a tornado threat. So we are looking at the chance for some isolated tornadoes out of some of these rain bands as well. So you see, this isn't going to be the exact timing of things. This is not going to be exactly when we are going to see these rain bands move through in exactly these locations, but it gives you a good idea of at least the start time later on this evening and into the overnight hours. This is 11:30 p.m. Still seeing those rain bands rotating through. We'll continue with the rain threat. We'll continue with the wind threat and the tornado threat during this time, during the overnight hours. Now, the good news is we are going to see drier air wrap around the system pretty early in the day on Thursday, so that'll push out the rain and storms at least by around mid-morning. 9-10 o'clock is when we'll see that happen for the most part. Now, what will linger is the wind gusts, and it will also continue to see rough surf over the next couple of days. Really, it always takes some time for the Gulf of Mexico to calm down in the wake of a system like this. As far as our alerts go, we'll start with the tropical alerts. Still tropical storm warnings in place for our Mississippi counties, Mobile and Baldwin County, where we're expected to see some, at least, tropical storm force wind gusts. That's over 39 miles per hour. So I want to show you one of our forecast models here. And through the afternoon, while the system is still offshore, likely going to see gusts to around 20, 25, possibly even up to 30 in some locations, sustained 15 to 20 for the most part, at least into the afternoon. And this stays pretty consistent through around dinner time. But look what happens. Once landfall happens, we start to get those higher wind gusts mixing in. This yellow shading is tropical storm force wind gusts. So by the time we get to around 8, 9 o'clock tonight, that's when we'll really start to see the breezy conditions work their way in, windy conditions, I should say. This is midnight, seeing gusts, especially in our western counties, 40, 45 miles per hour, maybe even some 50s in there, at least through around 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and moving into early tomorrow morning as well. In addition to the wind, we're going to see some surge, 2 to 4 feet in Mobile Bay and along the Alabama coast, 1 to 2 feet in northwest Florida, 3 to 5 feet in Mississippi at this time. And looking at the surf right now, seeing it starting to pick up. You see a couple of people just watching the waves out there. Some surfers too, not supposed to be in that water. Double red flags are flying, which means the water is actually closed to the public. But we are looking at waves crashing on Orange Beach there. And as far as surf alerts go, we do have a high surf warning in place. This is for waves around 7 to 10 feet. They're starting to kick up for sure, but that will happen later on this afternoon and evening. We do have some coastal flood alerts as well. We do have a coastal flood warning in place for Mobile, Baldwin counties, the typical places that normally flood. So we're talking about places like Dauphin Island. We're talking about the Mobile Causeway, Fort Pickens, those areas that typically flood. The Northwest Florida coastline is just a step below that in a coastal flood advisory. Not expecting as much there, but it is certainly a possibility with the winds pushing on shore. As far as rainfall goes, there is a flood watch in place, which means that we could see some periods of heavy rain that could cause some localized flooding in some spots, 2 to 5 inches of rain as far as flooding goes. And as far as rainfall totals goes, I think most of this will be beneficial rain for us actually, because we haven't seen any rain, but I do think that we could see some just areas of some flooding here and there. As far as the severe weather threat, like I said, those rain bands do pose a low-end tornado threat, so level 2 of 5 risk in place there. And that means that a few tornadoes are possible. Usually with tropical systems, they're shorter lived, they're usually weaker, but they are usually a part of tropical systems, so just keep that in mind. As far as local impacts go, just to kind of sum things up for you here, waves about 5 to 10 feet, rough surf is going to be a big thing for us that will linger over the next few days. 2 to 4 feet of storm surge, especially along the Alabama coastline. Scattered downpours, 2 to 5 inches of rain possible. Flooding a possibility too. Isolated severe weather. Coastal flooding is a possibility. And those tropical storm force wind gusts, especially moving into the overnight hours. So that's kind of what we're expecting. Just be sure that you stay tuned. The News 5 First Alert Storm Team will continue to keep you updated and also have 2 ways to get warnings, especially overnight. For now, we will keep you updated and be sure to join us on WKRG for the rest of the afternoon, evening, overnight, and into tomorrow as well.